This is the School Success Podcast, a podcast for school leaders to learn from other school leaders what's working and what's not, and to get inspiration and encouragement, as well as strategies to grow school enrollment, connect with families, retain teachers, recruit teachers, and everything in between. You guys are heroes, and I cannot thank you enough for pouring into this next generation that's coming behind us. My goal is you will take at least one thing away from every episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Please enjoy the School Success Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation.
Time for school.
Hey, School Success Makers. Welcome to another edition of the School Success Podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Slater. I'm joined by a new friend out of the great state of Missouri, John Roberts, who is the head of school at Covenant Christian School in St. Louis, Missouri. Got connected with him a little over a month ago through the Herzog Foundation, and they're doing some really cool things with their school, and we're going to dive into all of them today. And I know you guys are going to leave with some helpful tips and suggestions to make your school better, maybe some things you can do with your students. So strap in. It's going to be a fun one today. But of course, before we jump into all things content related, I always pass it off to the guests to introduce themselves. So John, welcome to the podcast today, sir.
Thanks, Mitchell, for having me. John Roberts, head of school at Covenant Christian School in St. Louis. Happy to be on the podcast.
We're going to have some fun today. So you get a fun question to start us off here. Everybody gets it. So yep. I've only been to St. Louis one time. I was a kid. We did the arch and everything when I was a kid for a homeschool trip with my parents. But I always ask this. If I was to visit you guys in St. Louis, Missouri, what would you say, Mitchell, you got to eat this and do this to experience St. Louis, Missouri?
Well, I would start with Forest Park. Forest Park is a site of the 1904 World's Fair, also the site of the 1904 Olympics. The first Olympics held in the United States was in Forest Park and just a little bit off Forest Park. So it's a great place for families to go. The St. Louis Art Museum is free. The History Museum is free. We have an 11,000 seat outdoor theater that produces Broadway shows, and those are available pretty much every night of the summer. So it's a great place to go. Hiking trails. It's larger than Central Park. It's one of the largest urban parks in the country, and it's just a great place to be. So if I were a family, or just even for an individual, I would go to Forest Park.
Okay. And what am I going to eat? What should I eat if I go to St. Louis?
Well, just to the south of Forest Park is the Hill neighborhood of St. Louis, which is an Italian neighborhood. Lots of great Italian restaurants there. And if you're in St. Louis, you would make a mistake not to try the toasted ravioli. That's a local favorite.
Okay. It's fun. I've heard that from somebody else. They talk about toasted ravioli. I've never had it before. So I remember Googling it, and it looks delicious.
I will say this, it is a local favorite, but not one of my favorites. So I'll just say that.
All right. Well, I'll get it. I'll go to the park, get some toasted ravioli.
You got to try it. Everybody else promises you that it will be good. So
okay. Sounds perfect, man. Well, hey, tell me a little bit about your school and how you got there and what makes you guys unique. And then, of course, I do have some specific questions for you.
Sure. Well, Covenant Christian School serves children ages 3 through 6th grade. We started 23 years ago. We're in our 23rd year right now. I was privileged to be able to start the school. I was the head of school when the school started. I was also the children's pastor at our church. I never expected to be in school leadership, but the Lord led me here. I got an email from our senior pastor at the time and said, "Hey, John, I need you to get the school started." And I didn't really know what that meant. I was game for it. I was excited about it, but getting the school started was not something I ever had on my agenda. So we started off thankful for some of our sister schools who have helped us kind of get our feet wet, kind of get started. We started off with kindergarten and an early childhood program, and then added 1 grade each year. And as we went through that process, what I discovered was that there was a whole big world of Christian education out there that I knew nothing about. My children attended one of the other Christian schools, and I thought our school would look a lot like those. But as I had opportunities to travel and explore and see other schools, like I said, I learned that there was a big world of Christian education out there, and that led us down the path to where we've eventually landed.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
And you guys, I think you're at sixth grade's the highest. Is that what you said? Right?
Yes, we go through sixth grade. Most of our students leave here and go to Westminster Christian Academy, which some folks would be familiar with. Just down the road from us is about 1,000 student school for grades 7 through 12.
Okay, man, that's a perfect little segue then, obviously. So why you go to sixth grade instead of seventh, and why you don't stop
Yeah.
at fifth grade and all that, because it fits perfectly with the sister school.
I found it to be unique that we do go to sixth grade. Most schools either end at fifth grade or go through eighth grade or whatever the case might be. So it puts us in an interesting position here.
Okay, I just talked with somebody, actually another podcast recording today, which by the time this one airs, this one should have aired already too. Then where they were to sixth grade, and then there was another school that was like, hey, we want to add a sixth grade, so they literally gave their sixth grade teacher to them, and they went to be a K5 or whatever. And I was like, that is so unique, because he said
Yeah.
the same thing. It's not common to have that setup.
No, it's not. But we have a unique and wonderful sixth grade program here. So I would really be hesitant to give that up.
Good deal. Well, you guys are doing some cool things. So tell me a little bit, what makes you guys unique? I don't want to obviously spill all the beans, because I know what some of these are, but what are some of those things you guys are doing that makes you guys special?
Well, I think first off, like I said, when we started the school, we were trying to figure out who we were. And through those first early years, when we had opportunity to visit other schools, we visited a number of schools all over the country. We saw a model on the East Coast that intrigued us. It was using an integral experiential curriculum. And so that model of education we adapted it to St. Louis for our school. It was a model which kind of looked at the subjects and found natural places where they fit together. And so we talk about an integral curriculum, not an integrated curriculum, because we look for those natural connections across subject matter. And then we weave those into units that are based on historical timeline. So our early grades, they study American history. And so everything they do is based off that American history timeline. Whether they're studying, for example, westward expansion, then they're talking about Lewis and Clark and all the things that were part of that. So their reading, their writing, everything is kind of connected to that historical time period. As they get into older grades, they study world history. So they look at what's happening in the world, and they bring it back to land, the people, the water, and the stories of this region. So we adapted that integral experiential curriculum for the St. Louis region. So we want our students to know and love the place where God has them. For example, I talked earlier about Forest Park. I could put one of our sixth graders in Forest Park and they could give you a wonderful tour. They know that park very, very well. They do a whole unit on that park, and that helps them to love where God has them. So that's part of what we're trying to accomplish. Go ahead.
And each level is going through something different. It's not the whole school does the same thing at the same time. It's depending on what grade you're in.
Right. So kindergarten, first and second, really is American history. Grades 3, 4, 5, and 6 are world history. And we use curriculum Susan Weisbauer's Story of the World. And that helps us to take a chronological approach to world history. So as our students may be learning about ancient Greece, they are in our outdoor learning lab learning about volcanoes and building the Nile River Delta, or if they're studying Egypt or whatever the case might be. So everything that they're doing connects. They might be reading a book called Detectives in Togas, which is a German book that has been translated into English and just connects with what they're learning about in their classrooms.
Hey, school success makers, Mitchell here. I just want to take a really quick break from the show to give a big, huge shout out to the Herzog Foundation. I absolutely love the Herzog Foundation. I've been friends and partners with them for a couple of years now, but we're bringing it to a whole new level. And I'm excited to share that our very own School Success podcast is now featured on the Herzog Foundation Podcast Network. The Herzog Foundation is a powerhouse of resources designed to support schools like yours, from free training events through the Herzog Foundation Institute to their incredible online news publication, The Lion, and of course, our new podcast, Home. They have everything you need to stay informed and inspired. And if you're dreaming of starting your own Christian school or co-op, don't miss their online course, Schoolbox. It's a fantastic resource to help you get started on the right foot. At School Success, we're proud to partner with the Herzog Foundation to bring you these valuable tools and insights. So visit herzogfoundation.com to explore all they have to offer. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on these amazing opportunities for growth and success. And I love all the people over there, and I know you guys will too. So please, please go check them out, and you won't be disappointed. Now, back to the show. Is this something you guys did from day one? Like, hey, we're doing this, or is this something that new you heard about it? You're like, you know what? Let's add this, and then if so, what was that shift like to add this into what you guys do?
Well, I would say that shift was pretty painful. That's why when I speak with folks who are looking to start a new school, I think my advice to them first is to really understand what your school is about. We didn't really know the direction the school was going to go. We had an idea of what we wanted the school to be, but we didn't really know how to get there. And if we would have taken maybe an extra year or two, did some of those visits to some of those other schools to start with, we probably could have saved ourselves a lot of time and pain in the process of moving our school in a slightly different direction. So the again, one of the, that those visits to those other schools, understanding that there is a big world of Christian education out there was really critical. The kind of moving in the direction to probably, I mean, it took quite a number of years, because first off, we had to kind of figure out what the model might be. We knew we wanted to be a school not characterized by rules or strictness or rigidity, but a school characterized by grace. And so keeping that in mind, that's who we wanted to be. And even back then we were using whole child language. Whole child is something that's very common right now. We educate the whole child. That's something that's fairly common. When we started this school, that was the language we were using, and it still still guides everything that we're seeking to do. We want to educate the whole child, obviously spiritually, academically. We are a school. We want to make sure that we prepare them well. We want to educate them artistically. We want it physically, relationally. So when we develop our curriculum, when we do what we do here in the school, all those things are really important to us. We need to make sure that we are driving our curriculum and again, everything else that we're doing, so that we provide those opportunities. Part of what we're doing as a experiential school is trying to meet those artistic and physical needs, integrally with our curriculum.
How do you guys figure out the experiential part? Is that, I know you mentioned the curriculum, there's a book. Is it saying, hey, you should go to your local park and do this thing? Or do you guys, they kind of just give you a framework and you make it fit for your area?
No, we actually, there was no real guidance to how we put our integral units together, other than a school in Northern Virginia that we modeled ourselves after, where they tied in their school to the Potomac region, Northern Virginia. So we brought the idea here, but because we're not the Potomac, we're St. Louis. So I looked around, I thought, we can never be the Potomac. Think about what they have there, Washington, D.C., and the Atlantic Ocean and all these things that are there. What I soon discovered was that our region has a lot of richness to it that serves as a real opportunity for us to educate our students and to bring these experiences into what we're doing. So we modeled ourselves after the school in Northern Virginia, with the idea that we would bring it, we would make it unique to who we are as a region. This region. Okay. I know you asked me a question. I don't think I answered it, but if you remember what that was, so.
Yeah, no, this works. So because here's what I'm thinking. So other schools are listening to this, and this is honestly in the 200 something episodes we've done. Yeah. If I have had somebody on that's done this, I don't remember it. So I like this, and it's very unique. So obviously what I'm thinking about is other schools listening to this going, oh, I like this. I want to do this. What would you tell them? Obviously you said it was painful. So obviously they're like, oh, maybe I don't want to do this, but what would you be telling these schools? Like, hey, if you're wanting to do this, here's one thing you can do just to start that process, or try it out and see how receptive your students are to it. What would you kind of tell that school?
Yeah, I think you start with an understanding of the integral units themselves. So for example, we based our integral units on historical timeline. Other schools can choose to base their units on anything that might be appropriate. We've also settled on the fact that we want to be place-based. So taking some of Steve Sobel's work on place-based education, we want to help our students to know and love this place where God has them. I mean, that includes naming the animals to, I put slideshows up at lunch for the kids to learn the different birds and be able to name the birds. And we had a barred owl on our property yesterday, and I took a photo of it and I put it up there because we didn't have a barred owl on our bird list. And so they learned to love and know and spy. One of the kids spotted it yesterday. They spotted the owl on our property, and it was great because that's what we want them to do. I think thinking about the units, kind of taking a step back and saying, if this is a curriculum you want to adopt, realize, or methodology of teaching, whatever the case might be, it does take work. It's a little bit, like I said, it was a little bit painful moving in this direction, but it's also so full of richness and depth that it's just an exciting way to think about Christian education. And it requires that you think non-traditionally about teaching in the classroom, because you're tying all these different subjects together into holistic units that where the subject matter overlaps. So if I were thinking about moving in this direction, I think first off, I would visit our school. I can name these schools in Northern Virginia. Rivendell School is a school in Northern Virginia that really helped us move this forward. I think that sort of understanding experience is helpful. So visiting schools, I would suggest you start there that are using this methodology. There's a school in Northwest Arkansas that is doing so as well. There's just a few of us in the country, but I think there's enough where you can get a good feel for what it would look like. So I think visiting those schools, talking to those folks, I think understanding that you need a platform on which to build these units, and then identifying what that might be. For us, doing it on a historical platform makes all the sense in the world. And that I can't imagine doing it on any other platform, but I'm sure that there are folks out there that could think, okay, we may not build our units on history, but we might want to build it on X or Y or Z, or whatever the case might be. So I think just understanding what this really looks like in practice.
Okay. What are some other, like, the foundation pieces, for you guys? History is, what would be some other ones? Would outdoor be considered one of them technically? Like, what are some other options?
Very much. I regret the fact that I have not spoken very much about that piece, but it's really important to what we do. We do have an outdoor classroom director and a school gardener who support what we're doing in the classroom. So our director of curriculum and instruction meets every 2 weeks with our outdoor classroom director and our primary classroom teachers to understand what's happening in the classroom, so that what happens in our outdoor space ties in naturally to what's happening in the classroom. So we really want those things to link together for our students. That's the depth and richness that we're talking about with the experiential side. I would say our curriculum does not go as broad as a lot of curriculums might, but it goes deeper. So we go deep into what our students are learning. I mentioned earlier our our third graders study ancient Egypt. I mentioned that they study the Nile, but they're also, they mummify a chicken while they're in there. Our fourth graders just planted some of their plants for making, so they'll harvest their plants and they'll make their own kimchi as they're studying ancient, they'll study Asia about 1200 AD. They'll read a book called A Single Shard, which is about kimchi in clay pots, and then they'll make their own kimchi. So all those things have to work together in order for the curriculum to be successful. So they're outdoors doing those sorts of things, but then they're at a local park. It's about 800 acres in size. Maybe they're in sixth grade. They go to Queenie Park while they're studying World War I, and they do orienteering, and they pretend that they are World War I soldiers, that they need to get a message to some troops that are cut off from a communication. They only have a compass, and they have to get from point A to point B. So that brings that part of the curriculum. That's again the depth and richness. They're learning what it was like to be a World War I soldier who had to get a message across, and we go cross country. That means through creeks and through wooded areas and briar patches and whatever the case might be to get from where they are. I set the flags where they have to get to, and sometimes we're successful at getting there, and sometimes we're not. So we enjoy, again, getting outside, and then we take long hikes, and we challenge our students with kind of getting outside, again, identifying plants, enjoying that connection to where God has us in the outdoors.
I love it. And getting kids outside, obviously so good for so many different parts of their development, which I love, but also getting in, like you just said, into God's creation. Is this something that is repeatable every year? So if you got fifth graders that are doing this thing, is it fifth graders next year doing the same thing? Or are you guys switching it up every year for different age groups?
It generally speaking, the curriculum repeats itself annually. We do really invite our teachers. It's rare when we have teacher turnover, which I'm very grateful for. But we do invite our teachers to bring their own passions to what they're doing in the classroom. So there may be some changes. We also look at our students. What are their interests? How can we elevate those interests in the classroom? How can we broaden those interests in the classroom? So sometimes we may change what they're doing based on that as well. We are mindful of these things while also understanding that there are some cores to what we're trying to accomplish. So what's happening in the classroom, where we're going, what we're doing can change, but fundamentally we're working on those core understandings.
Hey, I just want to take a really quick break from the podcast to highlight one of our amazing partners and sponsors, ClassReach. If you're a new school administrator or founder and are struggling to keep up with all the hassles of planting a new school, like collecting tuition, communicating with parents, or handling student data, then you need ClassReach. ClassReach is the all-in-one software that helps with everything from admissions and tuition to classroom management and parent communications. Sign up for a free consultation with one of their school specialists and see how ClassReach can help your school grow today. You guys can check them out online, classreach.com. They are a kingdom-minded company, and I love their leadership team there. I've become friends with a lot of them. They truly are a great company. I support them, and I love them, and you guys will love them too. Check them out at classreach.com. Now, back to the show. Now, obviously, I'm going to ask about the good part here in a second, but I'm going to start with this one. Is there things as you guys transition to doing this, there's got to be some parts that maybe didn't go super smooth, or you did it and it wasn't received well by the kids? You're like, okay, not going to do that again. So I want to hear some of the flops of this that didn't go well. But then obviously after this, we're going to talk about, this is what went really good. These are the exciting things. But let's start with the flops. Anything that comes to mind?
Well, no, I think mostly just the process that I mentioned, the process of we were providing a more traditional, what I would call a more traditional Christian education when the school first started, and we had to shift to more outdoor experiential. That's where some of that pain came. And I think if we would have been more certain of where we were going, we could have avoided a lot of the difficulties that we encountered. So I would say that those were the flops. I think that lack of real research and understanding in those early years really forced us to take it slow. But I think now I would say I would rather know where we're going and plant my flag. And that's what didn't happen. It took us years and years and years to plant our flag, said, this is who we are. This is the way we go about doing things. And that meant, it was the right place for some of our folks, but it wasn't the right place for others in our community. We always, we knew that might happen, but I think that we found a lot of success once we planted our flag. And I know at the very end of this podcast, you're going to ask me, what's that piece of advice? And I'm going to say, know who you are. And we didn't know who we were for a lot of those years. And that's where some of that pain came in. But I will say, since we've planted our flag, we've been very clear about who we are, how we go about things. We have a philosophy of risk. That's going to fit for some families. It's not going to fit for other families. And I will say that that's been an important part of what we've been doing.
That's fantastic advice for that, to plant your flag. And obviously everything went better once that was done. You said it's like it
Yes.
was smoother once we finally committed. We're fully all in and committed that. So once that was done, I know there's some cool stories. I bet you could share any wins. Again, I know there's probably a lot, maybe 2, 3 that come to mind of like maybe the student transformation happened because they got outside and maybe they're into forestry for a living now, or some any just like cool stories of that have come out of you guys doing this.
Well, we've got quite a few students who are into beekeeping right now. So I've been buying a lot of honey from former students that keep bees. So that's been a win from my perspective. That's a win. I think the thing that I'm most thankful for from our students, we're thankful that we have a great relationships with our, like I mentioned Westminster, but some of the other schools where our students go after they leave us. The thing that I'm most thankful for is that they say about our students that they love to learn. And I think for me as a head of school, that is wonderful. They that understanding that our students leave us and they just are anxious for what's next is wonderful. I will say the other thing that they say about our students is that they're confident. Like I said earlier, we're a purposefully small school. What I realized again in the third year, as we were kind of looking outwardly to see where we were going, we talked about being a school not characterized by rules or strictness or rigidity, but a school characterized by grace. And what I realized was the bigger you get, the more rules you have to put in place. So I think that for me, that was kind of transitional to stay small and to really focus on community, that relationship across grade levels. That's really important to us. And again, once we planted our flag and knew where we were going, we were able to really focus on our goals. Our students, starting in kindergarten, standing up in front of the entire school, talking about what's going on in their class, and praying in front of the entire class because they've got 4th graders or 6th graders right beside them, modeling what that looks like. So that small school experience and again, that understanding that confidence in what we're doing is really important.
Love that. Wow. This has all been good. And this question's coming. You already kind of beat me to it. You're the first guest that ever beat me to my last question, but I'll ask it again, and maybe it's the same, or maybe there's a different one that comes into play. So kudos to you. That was good. Obviously, all been great. If you were to share one final piece of advice for our leaders listening, what would that one final piece of advice be?
Well, I would say plant your flag, know who you are, and be comfortable and confident in it. Again, our school's 23 years old, and we probably spent 10 years until we were really ready to plant that flag. And taking time to really understand what's important to you, I think will go a long ways in helping your school to be successful.
I agree. I love it. I love that you're getting them outside, and I love what you guys are doing. So, John, thanks for taking time out of your Tuesday to hop on a call with me. Wishing you guys nothing but the best. Love what you guys are doing.
All right. Thank you very much for having us, Mitchell.
Well, another huge shout out and a thank you to our guests for taking time and being on the podcast today. I love the people that I get to interview in this podcast. And as always, I'm hoping you guys are able to take at least one thing away from today's episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Before you guys go, I do want to make sure you are aware of our 3 free resources available here at School Success. And the first one is, of course, the podcast that you're listening to right now. We are dropping weekly episodes every single Monday morning. We want to make sure you guys aren't missing out. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you haven't left a 5-star review, we would love a 5-star review as well. The second one is on our website, schoolsuccessmakers.com. In the top right-hand corner is a button, School Success Report. You just click that and sign up for that. We send it directly to your inbox every single week. It's full of different articles our team has either found or written to help you, the school leader, be more successful. And last but not least is our free Facebook community called School Success Makers. It's an awesome place. I'm personally in there. I'd love to see you in there as well. Get some good community around you, ask questions, and just have some fun. So make sure you are joining our free Facebook community. We'd love to see you in there. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. We'll be back here next week with another awesome guest as usual on the School Success Podcast. We'll see you then. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Herzog Foundation.